Avatar, The Way of Water is just around the corner. It's almost out. So I thought it was time to go back to the original 2009 film, written and directed by James Cameron, starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana and Sigourney Weaver, as well as Stephen Lang. Now, in recent years, it's become somewhat fashionable, I think, to kind of be down on this film. When it first came out, it was the highest earning blockbuster of all time. It still is. It's currently floating over 2 billion after re-releases and whatnot. But yeah, it's Terminator 2, James Cameron, broke all-time box office records. Then Titanic broke all-time box office records. Avatar broke all-time box office records. I wouldn't be surprised if the new Avatar movie does break all-time box office records. One man you should not discount is James Cameron. Although, as I say, it's become fashionable to do so with this film, I think. A lot of people, despite just how big this film was when it first came out, seem to be really down on it now. But a lot of the criticisms I hear for it, the usual one, it's dances with wolves in space. Okay, that's a criticism to me that I've never quite understood. It's never washed with me. One, Dances with Wolves is an incredible film that won Best Picture at the Oscars. So, okay, if you're going to ape a film, why not ape one of the best? But Star Wars did the same thing. Star Wars, which people get religious about, it's considered the best film of all time in many quarters, and people get so hyped up about it. Well, it's just, George Lucas doing Akira Kurosawa movies in space. For me personally, I don't care that this is a similar story to other stories like Last Samurai. What matters to me is the execution. Does Cameron tell a good version of that story? Does he do enough with it that is different to separate it from the likes of Dances with Wolves or The Last Samurai? And the answer is yes, he does. Why? Well, because it is in space. When you go to space and you go to another planet, you can do whatever the heck you want. You create literally a whole new world, and that world is in the shape of Pandora. So we get this character played by Sam Worthington. He's a twin brother, and his twin brother was part of this Avatar program, but unfortunately he died. It was a military program, and he, being that he has similar DNA, he's the only one who can fill this avatar. So they recruit him, and he goes in this avatar. This is a man with no legs, no working legs. But when he goes in this avatar, it means he can walk around. So obviously that is very enticing for him. Now, when he goes on this mission with the aim of basically getting these people, these native people, the Na'vi, to move on so that they can mine the land that they want, that they're living on, he grows attached to the Na'vi people and becomes very much like them. He goes native, so to speak, as Stephen Lang says at one point. It's Kevin Costner becoming one of the Indians. I get that. Similar story. We've seen that before, but we've not seen it told like this. We've not seen it on this world with these creatures and these people and this culture. So for me, it does enough to separate itself from those movies and stand on its own with its own identity. I don't think I need to talk about the visuals, but obviously I will. They're incredible. It's just like, even now, it was 2009 this film was released, 13 years ago, and the effects in this film still look better than any modern blockbuster. Obviously back then, when it was a modern film, it looked better than any other modern blockbuster. But now, you put it against any blockbuster that's out these days, it still looks as good, if not better, than any modern blockbuster. I really like the characters. I've always found Sam Worthington to be underrated as an actor. There's a few films that he's done that I really love, this being one of them, Texas Killing Fields being another. But he's right for the role here. I do think there was a bit of a backlash with Sam Worthington because he was one of those actors, a bit like Jai Courtney, who the studios were trying to push as a star. They wanted to just make him a star, and I think people they shut that down because no, I don't want to be told who's going to be a star. But I like Worthington. He's a likable presence. He's a bit of an everyman. But here, he's right for this role. You know, this military grunt who's a bit of a jarhead, but actually has a heart and does have a certain level of intelligence that goes overlooked because people just assume he is a jarhead. It takes this almost childlike man, this man who doesn't get too deep into politics. He just experiences things, and a lot of that's because he doesn't have legs. So when he's given this avatar body, everything is new, everything is fresh. He's soaking everything up. And because of that childlike wonder, that childlike glee, it helps him to ingratiate himself within this Na'vi people, because he's open. He's an open book, and he's soaking things up. He's like a sponge. It's a really good character. It's often very overlooked element of the film. I think a lot of people say the writing on this is off, that it's not James Cameron's best work. I think he does really great stuff with the script. I think all the characters are very well fleshed out. Now, I watched the extended cut for this review, so this is technically a review of the Ultimate Extended Edition, or whatever it's called. And there are other characters that are fleshed out in there. So Sigourney Weaver's character, Grace, this teacher, she's got a lot more stuff, I think, in the extended cut, which is a shame they cut it out. They go into the past with her connections to the Na'vi and how she was helping to educate them, teach them. She had opened a school there that got shut down once the military kind of became a bit too aggressive and the Na'vi kind of retaliated. So yeah, she was kind of kicked out and she's desperate to get back in. She's already gone native, so to speak. She already wants to be one of those people, and she's fighting as much as she can to get back in. And Worthington's character is her way in, is her way back. The more connections he makes, the greater chance she has of getting in. But all the backstory there of her being a teacher and her connection to this people, it reminds me of another character that Sigourney Weaver played, which is the character of Diane Fossey from Gorillas in the Mist. There's some real distinct correlations there between the two characters, and her kind of love of gorillas and wanting to protect them and live with them. She brings that element here. I see a lot of her Diane Fossey character in this character of Grace. Zoe Saldana in this is absolutely brilliant. Now, this is a film that introduced me to Zoe Saldana. I can't remember if I'd seen her in anything else until this. But even under all that makeup, we never see her as a human. She's a born and bred Na'vi, so we only get to see her under the CGI, under whatever makeup there may be, of which I don't think there is any, to be honest. But I totally buy her. There's never any point where I'm looking at her and trying to see the joins, trying to see what the effects work is that they're doing. The work there that is done is just so nailed, so spot on, that I'm never pulled out. I'm always in. And thanks to her performance as well, I'm sucked in even more. There are times when she's really got to bring it, got to make me buy that she is part of this alien culture, and I do in every respect, whether it's the accent she puts on and the way she speaks the language, or the way that she emotes through those special effects. How much of that is her, how much of it is the effects work, I don't know, but either way, she's incredible in this movie. Someone else who is firing on all cylinders is Stephen Lang as the main villain. So he plays this military general guy, commander, who he's just like a nut job. He's your stereotypical Patton-esque kind of, wants to go in there and just blow the crap out of everything. He's a man who is built for war. He doesn't understand anything else. He just wants to get in the fight, and he'll look for any excuse to do it. But the way that Lang plays him is just, He's really great, and there's some real badass moments from him. This is a guy you don't want to like, but because of just the pure badassery of Stephen Lang, you kind of like this guy, even though you want to see him get his comeuppance. And when he does, you're kind of like, yeah. But there's just like some real great moments, like when there's an escape being made and people can't breathe the air that's on this planet. If they step outside, they have to put a mask on. And at one point, when there's an escape being made, he gives everyone the quickest warning imaginable, which is like really no warning at all, and then kicks the door open. Holds his breath and then kicks the door open to try and shoot these escapees. And then someone else comes out and hands him a mask, and it's just like he's just that much of a badass. He doesn't stop to get the mask. He's just like, yeah, I want to take these guys down, and even if it kills me. But yeah, he makes for a very solid villain that is just the kind of villain you love to hate. I love that this film takes its time. I love that we are immersed in the culture. Like, I always think of this movie being this really big action-packed epic, and actually the action is dialed down a bit. Most of it's towards the end of the film. There's huge action set pieces in it throughout, but there's a lot of talking as well. There's a lot of character development going on. There's a lot of world building. Cameron really wants to immerse you in this world of Pandora, and by the time the film's over, you want to go back there. I do anyway. I really love the world that he's created. I love the synergy between life on this planet, the way everything's all connected. And obviously this is a film about being connected to nature and all the life that's around you. Look at our planet and how we're destroying it. And Pandora is this planet in which everything is literally connected. I know a lot of people, they criticise, it's a bit weird that everyone kind of, they put those things on and connect to different animals, and it's like they're making love with each other. It's not like that at all. It's not the way I see it. It's just about connection. It's about being one with the world you live in, and getting to know the environment around you. And I just feel like it's visualized through the life systems of this planet. Even Michelle Rodriguez is likable in this film. There's so few films where I actually like Michelle Rodriguez's characters. I got nothing against her as a woman, don't get me wrong. I don't know her. I can't say anything about her personal life. It's not a criticism or judgment of her. It's just a lot of the characters she plays are very samey, very kind of ladette characters that talk the talk and walk the walk, and it's just like, whatever. Here I feel like, I like her character. I like she's a military character, but I like that she comes to the aid of our main characters. I like that she makes certain moral choices. Her character's put in certain predicaments where she has to make a moral choice. She has to decide whether to follow orders and be destructive, or whether to break those orders, break rank, and do something a bit more constructive and fight for this planet. And that endears me to the character, and I think Rodriguez does a good job with what she's given. Watching this film again after quite a few years, to be honest, it's just got me really psyched for the new one. I've always been a big Avatar fan. I've always defended it, never understood the criticisms that kind of emerged like a couple of years after it was released, and all the hype started to die down, and then suddenly people became critical of it. I didn't get it. I loved it when it came out. I watched it 3 times at the cinema. I've loved it every time I've watched it since, and this time around I watched the extended edition for the first time, and I think I love it even more. And I absolutely cannot wait now for the new one, which, from what I'm hearing, is better than this one. Well, this one is a 5-star film from me. I think it's incredible. I think it's really great. And I don't think you should ever bet against James Cameron. He is one of my favourite directors, and this is up there for me with his other work. I don't care what anyone says. It's a great film. 5 out of 5 from me. But what about you? What do you think of Avatar, the 2009 original? Do leave your thoughts down below in the comments section. Thank you for watching this review, and until next time, cracking.